Stop! Just for once in your life, don't smash!
Big monster!
As we know, Agatha all along was almost all about Hulkling, but Marvel shut it down. And honestly, we get it. They want to launch him in his own solo series first, then bring him into a Young Avengers team-up. Rumor has it, some insiders think Hulkling might actually be a Skrull refugee from the planet Tarnax. So let's unpack everything we know about a potential Hulkling solo outing in the MCU. I know Hulk fans were hoping for a World War Hulk flick, but hey, these are the cards we've been dealt. No hard feelings, just sit back, grab your tea, and let's dive in. The whole Hulkling situation in the MCU, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes that fans might not realize. And honestly, once you dig into it, it all starts to make sense. First off, as Marvel's been slowly and not so subtly building toward a Young Avengers lineup, we found out that Agatha all along almost included more than just Wiccan. Originally, the showrunners were toying with the idea of including Hulkling too, specifically by revealing that Eddie, Billy's love interest in the show, was actually Teddy Altman, aka Hulkling. Now, this wasn't just a fun Easter egg, they were seriously thinking about using this show as Hulkling's introduction into the MCU. But Marvel stepped in and said, nope. Jack Schaefer, the showrunner, opened up about this in an interview, saying there were early conversations about calling the character Teddy and setting him up to be Hulkling. They even thought about it visually, looking at the comics and character design. But ultimately, Marvel made the call to go in a different direction. So instead of continuing with Teddy, they changed his name to Eddie, which, according to Schaefer, was actually a tribute to someone important in the writer's room. It wasn't meant to tease fans or throw in fake references, it was just a sweet, personal nod. Still, you can see why this idea didn't make it through. Marvel seems to be saving Hulkling for something more impactful. It's not that they don't want him in the MCU, it's just that they want to do it right. And that likely means giving him his own dedicated intro rather than making him a side character in someone else's story. From a narrative perspective, that's kind of a smart move, especially since Hulkling has such a deep and layered backstory. And let's not forget, Hulkling's origins are tied to some pretty massive Marvel lore. He's the son of the Skrull princess Anel and the original Kree Captain Marvel, Mar-Vell. That alone makes him a significant character, not just because of who his parents are, but because of what he represents, the potential unity between two species that have been at war for centuries. He's not just a superhero, he's a symbol. Plus, let's look at where we last saw the Skrulls. Secret Invasion didn't exactly leave things on a high note, so it's not surprising Marvel might want to take a breather before diving back into that storyline. But that doesn't mean they've shelved it entirely. In fact, there's already speculation that Hulkling could have quietly been introduced during the Marvels, when Captain Marvel and Valkyrie rescued Skrull refugees from the devastated planet Tarnax. That would line up perfectly with the idea of Hulkling being a Skrull refugee brought to Earth. So maybe he's already here, just waiting for the right moment to step into the spotlight. And honestly, there's a lot of pressure on Marvel to get his story right, because in the comics, Hulkling is a big deal. He was a founding member of the Young Avengers, brought in by Iron Lad after the main Avengers disbanded. Even back then, he was never just a tag-along. He was a core part of the team with strong values, heroic instincts, and deep connections to other legacy characters. He wasn't just in it for the title, he genuinely wanted to make a difference. His name alone tells a story. Hulkling might sound odd at first, but it makes sense once you understand it. He's got the build and green coloring of the Hulk, but his shape-shifting abilities come from his Skrull side, which basically makes him a changeling. So, Hulk plus changeling equals Hulkling. It's a bit quirky, but it works. And in the comics, he even has to explain it to people constantly, which adds to his charm. At one point, Hulkling even thought he was a mutant. Because of his shape-shifting powers, he assumed he had the X gene. It wasn't until later that he learned about his true heritage, and that his adoptive mom had kept the whole Kree-Skrull hybrid thing a secret. This adds even more depth to his eventual connection with Wiccan, since Wiccan is the son of Scarlet Witch, who, let's be honest, has a complicated history with mutants. It creates a layer of dramatic irony that's actually really powerful. Despite all the hidden truths and complicated histories, Hulkling and Wiccan still found love and built a strong relationship. Another cool fact? Hulkling didn't just inherit his parents' bloodlines, he inherited their strength too. His Skrull DNA gives him shape-shifting and healing abilities, while his Kree side provides him with superhuman strength and durability. He's built to survive, which makes sense considering he ends up smack in the middle of the Kree-Skrull War. And while we're talking about his legacy, let's not overlook his father. The original Captain Marvel, Mar-Vell, was a Kree spy sent to Earth, and his story has been mostly overshadowed by Carol Danvers in the MCU. But if Hulkling comes into the picture, it could be a great opportunity for Marvel to explore that older legacy while tying in newer threads. It bridges the cosmic side of the MCU with its more grounded stories. There's also a whole prophecy tied to Hulkling. He's not just a hybrid, he's a foretold savior who's destined to bring peace to the Kree and Skrull people. And he's not just some reluctant figurehead either. He actually becomes the emperor of both races. That's a huge deal. He's the one who finally ends one of the longest-running wars in Marvel cosmic history. And it's not just words that back up his title, he also wields a magical space sword called Excalibur, also known as the Sword of Space. It's kind of like Thor's hammer in that it can only be summoned by him and won't harm his allies. Oh, and it negates magic. No big deal. When it comes to his love life, Hulkling and Wiccan are one of the most iconic LGBTQ+ couples in comics. They've even been married, twice. Once before Hulkling left Earth, and then again after he returned victorious with the Kree-Skrull Alliance. Their relationship has been written with a lot of care, and it's resonated with readers for years. So if and when Marvel does bring Hulkling into the MCU, fans will be expecting that relationship to be portrayed with the same depth and sincerity. Now, I get it. At first, it might have seemed frustrating to fans that they didn't just throw Hulkling into a show where his boyfriend already had a role. But now it's clear why Marvel wants to give Hulkling his own solo project before placing him in something like Young Avengers. His character isn't just about his relationship with Billy, it's about legacy, leadership, identity, and the balance between duty and personal choice. That kind of depth deserves the right introduction. So instead of rushing it, Marvel's taking the time to let Hulkling stand on his own first. And honestly, that might be the smartest move they've made. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.